life settlement, how to present our product to investors, about the portfolio and the PRM, qualified versus accredited investor, and why life. California law allows insurance licensed only agents through securities intermediary, which is the custodians. It's a fail-safe to protect the clients. All money gets transferred directly to the custodians. Nothing goes directly to us. That way it keeps everything at an arm's length. And the longevity risk is mitigated through our PRM. Markets, and it's an absolute known return. Definition of a life settlement. A life settlement is the legal sale of an existing life insurance policy, typically of seniors, for more than its cash surrender value, but less than its net death benefit to a third-party investor. Policy itself. Reasons people sell their policies: because the premiums become too burdensome. They need to replace the loss. The need to replace the loss no longer exists. A term policy may be near the end of its coverage period. Capital could be the U.S. life insurance industry has protected people to a degree unmatched by any financial institution anywhere in the history of the world. The only real risk factor involved is time, which we offset with the premium reserve management, PRM, which we call LE+2. At a full portfolio maturation. I think you've seen this before. This is just an example of the hypothetical portfolio. Again, it shows this client being invested into 5 different life insurance policies. The total policy multiple custodians work with our qualified accounts. It's uncorrelated to market risks. Securities intermediary ensures protection of the investment. Diversified between multiple policies. Receive a return as each policy a PRM, which I explained is the private reserve management, premium reserve management. It mitigates the risk. It's no cost and known yield with primary remaining variable isolated to time. It provides qualified versus accredited. What's the difference between a qualified and accredited investor for the state of California? What is the definition of a qualified investor, and what is the definition of accredited investor? The investor. The company sells securities that are not registered with the SEC. They can only sell them to qualified investors. Again, we're talking about that 25102Q exemption that we mentioned earlier. Qualified investors are a class of investors that are considered to be financially stable investor defined? It's a natural person who either individually or jointly with the person's spouse, has a minimum net worth of $150,000 and had, during the immediately preceding tax year, gross income excess of $100,000 and reasonably expects gross income in excess of $100,000 during the current tax year, or has a minimum net worth of $250,000 net worth, shall be $200,000 for the past 2 consecutive calendar years and a reasonable expectation of the same in the current year. Alternatively, they can qualify if they have at least $300,000 in joint income with a spouse. You can qualify them as accredited investor by net worth. Either as an individual or with a spouse, they must have a joint net worth of at least $1 million. This prerequisite is an additional to your income proof requirements. Notably, the value of your primary residence is not counted in the overall net worth. You can also accredit an investor by company. Private companies in business with organizational assets above $5 million also qualify as an accredited investor entity. Why life settlements now? First, the average lifespan in the United States has been declining recently. A lot of it has to do with the pandemic and other factors. Secondly, market volatility right now is causing a lot of anxiety. If people have not experienced losses in their portfolio, then they are lucky, and they've been able to take some of their gains and put it in a non-market correlated asset. If they've seen losses, then how much more do they want to experience? Many financial experts are warning of more losses. Wrap up. Life settlements benefit all people involved. They're unaffected by market risk, global volatility, and pandemics. Talked about qualifying the customer as a qualified or accredited client. Also, does anybody need an illustration prepared? When you have a client that you want to talk to about this product, if you send me a note, give me the client's name and how much they're looking to invest, I can prepare a illustration, which is similar to the one we saw earlier that has a list of potentially the investment, show how the investment would be spread over the number of policies and what the return would be. It's a nice little thing to show your client when you're talking to them. So if anyone ever needs an illustration prepared, just send me a text, email, or call me, and I go ahead and send it out to you. Does anybody have any questions?
Not at the moment.
I was on mute. Go ahead, Freddie.
No question, Padita.
Oh, I have a question, and it's actually not a question. Would you be kind enough to explain what you emailed to me regarding the other countries? So at least they will understand.
Okay, well, originally when you asked about doing outside of California, I explained to you that it would have to do what we call an institutional investment. That means that they would have to buy a whole policy themselves. As we've shown in our program, we spread the policies over at least a minimum of 5 different policies. We can't do that with people outside of California because that's not part of the program. Again, this is under the exception that we're allowed to sell these investments to that don't go through the SEC because of our program. So if they're outside the country, they would have to be put into a whole policy, which means they normally have to buy the policy itself. Most of these policies are typically in the $1 million plus range, which means that they'd have to come up with the whole amount to cover the policy. They'd be put into the one policy. And that's why we have the program that we have for California. Now, if you're looking to do, outside of California and you have a group of people or several people that want to invest, several $1 million, then we can look at putting together a program like that, but it would be a separate program. We'd have to create a new LLC. We'd have to incorporate, we'd have to set up the new program. And then, like I said, it would be more that they would be purchasing millions of dollars at the same time, not just small fractional investments that we allow in the California program. The reason we allow the fractional programs in the California program is so that everybody has a chance to invest in it and profit off of the policies that are available. Whereas when the outside or institutional investment, they'd have to be placed into a whole policy by itself. So it's a completely different policy. And that's why I said when we first explained doing outside of California, that's what I meant by an institutional investment. It would have to be a whole policy.
I don't have a challenge when it's outside of California. for one, if you need a whole life policy, they can do it without coming to the country. What I want to be clear on is the people outside of the country, the Philippines or Malaysia, whatever. So are you saying they still have to get a whole life policy before they can invest with CLS?
No, what I'm saying is if they want to invest, they would have to buy a whole policy. It wouldn't be investing through CLS. It would be directly with the people that have the policies. That's why I'm saying you can't put it through the California program, which is the CLS program.
When you're saying the people that have the whole policy, that is not whole life policy, that is the investment portfolio.
The entire policy is when I say whole policy, I don't mean a whole life policy. What I'm talking about
It's a portfolio, right?
the entire policy itself. If you noticed on the
Okay.
example that we had, in fact, let me just go back up to that a second.
Yeah, I just want us to be very clear because we launched the foreign national and we don't want, to be a blind leading a blind,
Right. Okay. Like I said, this is the breakdown of typical client investment. And for $100,000, they're put into 5 different policies as a fractional piece of each policy. In this case, like the second policy is $1 million policy. So if the customer was, outside the country wanted to invest $1 million, they would be able to buy that policy, that particular policy. And when that matures, they would be paid on that particular policy and that policy only.
Okay.
Now, the people that buy these policies, they buy, they can buy less. They buy some that are maybe in the few 100,000 range and all the way up to multi-millions of dollars. So if you have a client that wants to do a $200,000 or $300,000 investment, just let me know and I can bring the other people in that buy these policies and they can tell me whether or not they have some policies that are already in that range, or they can actually look for them and tell us, oh, that's easy. We can find that in a couple of days, or that one might take a month, or whatever happens to be. And I can't speak for them because I don't know how they work, but that's what we would do, is basically get them involved directly with the company that buys the policies and then match them up with a policy.
Okay. And it's expected most of these people or investors will be doing cash, or wire transfer because they don't have the 401k or whatever. I don't know in other countries.
Yeah, no, and we would still have them direct the cash directly to one of our custodians, the Bank of Utah, and then from there they would issue the payment to the Optima, which is the name of the company that buys the policies for us.
And will the policy or the what do you call this one, be delivered by the agent, or you guys will directly deliver it to them?
I would have to find out how that would work. I'd have to discuss that with the other company. I don't know off the top of my head how that would work yet, because we haven't come across that yet. I'd rather find out and give you the right answer than make something up. So
no. I just want to be very clear, that because when they call us and then we explain the process, I don't want them quote me and say, oh, you told me you're going to be the one. And then why is this, it's always a trust factor that we're trying to work with.
Right. And like I said, if you have a customer that's interested in a particular amount, just, send me a message and I'll go ahead and get a hold of the other company and see what they have available. And if they have something that fits right in the program, then we're all set. If not, they'll tell me how long it would take to find something.
Yeah. And it's normal with your pool of advisors and the company or whatever they're working with. They will have a couple of portfolios that are kind of like open or in place, or do they close one portfolio first before they open another portfolio?
No, the way they work, they buy all the policies that are available that they think will fit in the program. They hold those policies until the investors come along and buy the policies. So when we buy the policies, it's already theirs. They already have it. It's already on the books. It's already it's already ticking off time. It's not like when we put the clients into it. It's a brand new policy and the 5-year clock starts now. Some of these have already been on the books for they may have been 6 months, a year and a half. It all depends on how big it is and how long it takes to sell off each of those portions to sell the whole amount.
And from your experience, on the average, it's really 4 to 5 policies, correct?
Well, we try and keep it we try and do at least 5 policies. Depending on how many people we get, we might spread it to even more than that. But yeah, we try and keep at least 5. That way there's a spread of the risk. And like I said, some might come early and some might go late. They all could end up early, but we don't want to promote that because we don't want to tell them that you're going to get X amount of dollars and then they find out, well, it was only this amount, and then they feel disappointed.
Yeah. Well, because I'm talking to my consultant,
Yeah,
I'm
undersell
sorry.
and over deliver works a lot better. So.
Yeah, I'm talking to my consultant and she was saying, the lesser the number of policies, the better for the portfolio. So I'm just.
Right, and that's why we try and keep it around 5. But we, like I
Right.
said, we can go as, there could be 20, 30 policies available that we
Correct.
might want to put it into, but it all, we're looking for the total raise on this particular portfolio of 15 million. So
And
that's
we're
kind of
still,
what we
we're
want to keep
still
it at.
safe when we say on the average is about 12.5, right?
For the return.
I said we're still safe if we say on the average is 12.5, return, right? A year.
Based on the statistics I've seen from the London School of Business, yeah, it's about 12% return annually. But we'd like to
Okay.
look at as we tell them yield to maturity, which is was 60%, and that's yield to maturity, which is over that period of time. Now,
Okay.
obviously, if it breaks down to exactly 5 years, then you're looking at 12%. Some might go early, some might go late, but the average should still be right in that range.
Okay. But there
Now,
are
now,
better,
just so you
right?
know, we don't quote the client that on an annual because it all depends. It's not, it's
Yeah,
subject to
yeah.
how long it takes. So we
Mhm.
try and keep it at the yield to maturity rather than
Yeah,
the
and it's better
ROI.
to save the YTP, right?
Yeah, it's safer to say that because that's legitimate. We know what the numbers are going to be at the end, so we know that the return will be in
Correct.
that range.
Yeah,
So we
rather
feel
than
safe saying
comparing
that
it to
rather than saying what the month, what the annual return on equity or return on investment.
yeah, rather than comparing it to an annuity, it's really
Right.
apple. And from my perspective, it's an apple to orange.
Yes, it's two separate products, and that's why they work well together. You've got the customer that
Right,
has
and nowadays,
safer investment, and they can use and do both of them and set, use them both against each other. So
yeah, and a lot of people they still quite of leaning on the annuity, but they're still attached to most of the time S&P 500. And right now, what's going on. So I'm just
Right.
trying to clarify some of this stuff.
yeah,
And
my agent's telling me every day about these people that are complaining about their IRAs and the 401ks dropping down 20, 30, 40%.
huh? Yeah, I know. I mean, we have 2-3 cases that was before your time, from 245 to 190, and then 2 cases right now that are like 45 to 19, and they're really dropping.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. I mean, it's really a shame. I hear
And,
so many
and I
stories
don't mean
every day.
to push you much, but we would still appreciate the 1-page intake form.
Yes, and they are working on that right now.
Yeah,
Actually.
when you have the time, people are asking, about it from me, and I said,
Yeah,
it's
I'm trying to get my IT people to give me a form that actually will be transferable over to preload possibly the subscription agreement. So I'm not sure if they can work that out, but that's what they're working on right now. So I should have something in
Okay.
a couple days for you.
yeah, no problem. Just a reminder.
And don't feel like you're pushing me. You're asking, and I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I'm just the messenger. I'm
Yeah, no
always a
worries.
front line, and people will ask this and ask that, and all I can say is whatever your answer will be. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, we're working on that. Like I said, they're trying to get it to actually input everything into the thing and do it as a DocuSign, but we'll see how it comes out. So.
Okay. Okay. I am good for now. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, no problem. Thank you very much for everybody for attending, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.